Howdy, howdy, this is Creative Grinding back again with an arena cutoff video for Marvel Contest of Champions. Today I'm going to cover round one predictions for the new Recollected Crystal and Civil Warrior arenas. So the first thing I like to do is kind of always compare these new arenas to past arenas, as that'll help me kind of figure out what kind of range we're talking about for their cutoffs. And when it comes to Civil Warrior, I think it's pretty clear from a four-star basic perspective. He's going to have low interest. He's going to perform similar. His cutoff will be similar, that is, to past low interest champions. Now, when it comes to the Recollector Crystal, though, that's unlike most of the arenas we typically have. So I had to look all the way back to the end of 2016 when Kabam also had what they called at the time the Memory Lane Crystal, to kind of get a sense of how did those, at least back then, how did the community grind for that Memory Lane Crystal compared to the other arenas. And at the time, that arena cutoffs were very similar to old champions at the time. And specifically, here's a graph to kind of show you that. When I looked at some of those end of 2016 arenas also. Now, keep in mind, the arena structure was much different than it is now, but this just kind of, I had to go based off of something, right, to kind of figure out what we can kind of expect. And based off of this, you can see that the Memory Lane Crystal had a similar cutoff to some of the older champions around that time, like Superior Iron Man and Joe Fixit. Whereas Hyperion, Howard the Duck, and Gwenpool all had kind of higher results. Captain America was a little bit higher, World War II, but I think that's kind of what we see with four-star basic high interest champs, because at the time he was one of the better science. I mean, he's still a decent science champ today, but definitely back then there was a lot more interest to get him, so he kind of performed like a mid-tier to high-tier, high-interest champ for the four-star basic. But anyway, you can see through these results, though, the Memory Lane did perform like the older champs, not like the new champs. So with that in mind, let's take a look at some recent old four-star results, four-star feature results. And you can see back with Abomination, we were coming in around 7.85, with the top 10% shard tier coming in at 4.4. And then if you look, what's not displayed here, the 11% shard tier come right around 1.9 million at the time. Then with Nightcrawler, you can see that there was a bump up, a more not highly, but more utility in the game still compared to Abomination. He was at around 9.2 million with a top 10% 4.3. So it's kind of hanging around that milestone around 4.5 million. We've seen a bump in that for the top 10% tier, kind of going up a little bit ever since we had the Valor involved with four-star feature. And then when you look at Loki, he came in right around 10 million. I think there was some hype for Loki, a little bit more than older champs, just because of that new synergy that he has with Hela. So I think that's what kind of gave him that higher spike. Now, when we look at recent low interest results for the four-star basic arena, you can see they're all very similar between longer past. When you look at Drax, he came in at 2.3 million. Then you look at Gamora with 2.16 million. Then you look at Punisher with 2 million. And this was very recently. This is his second round, still just wrapped up here recently. So, but you can see anywhere from 2 million to 2.3 million is what we're talking about, with 11 to 25% tier going anywhere from 1.5 to 1.65 million. And lastly, when we look at some recent old three-star feature results, you can see they're very similar as well, ranging anywhere with Nightcrawler from 714,000 all the way to the top here at 721,000 for Thor, and then even with Loki at 712. So very similar the results. And then with 11 to 25%, anywhere from 425,000 to 585. Now that's kind of a big fluctuation. I think what that 425 is kind of an anomaly. If you're looking at other old three-star feature arenas, they're more closer to that 534, 585 number versus 425. So taking all of this into account, here are my thoughts for round one predictions. I think the cutoff for the four-star version of the Recollected Crystal will be around 11.5 million. The top 10% coming right around 4.6 million, so right above that milestone reward. And I think what we've seen with that 11% tier coming around 2.3, 2.4 million. Now, when we jump over to the four-star basic, I think Civil Warrior right to be around 2.1, 2.3, somewhere around in there. So I figure we'll go with the 2.2 million cutoff, with the 11 to 25% around 1.65 million. And lastly, with the three-star feature, I think if there's going to be a little bit of a bump, just given, this is a crystal kind of thing, so people might be a little bit more excited, a little bit more attainable at the three-star feature. So still, though, in that low to mid-range, 700,000. So I'm saying 750,000 with 11 to 25% at 550,000. So when it comes to the grind targets, though, if you want to feel safe, a good safe number to go after the 4-star feature recollected crystal will be around 12 million. The top 10% at 4.8 million, and that 11% shard tier at 2.6 million, right above that milestone reward, just in case folks are still pushing to that last milestone reward. And then, I should say, last to the cutoff. And then with the 4-star basic, I think you'll be able to get several warriors safely with a 2.5 million number, with 11 to 25% tier at 1.7 million. And lastly, when we jump over to 3-star feature, if you want to safely get that crystal, go to 800,000, and for 11 to 25%, go to 580,000. Again, these grind targets and round one predictions though are for the veterans bracket, meaning you have an account that's been live for over 61 days. If you have a newer account, the beginners bracket here and the intermediate bracket, here are some ranges to consider. Again, I couldn't find anything when it came to the results for last year's memory lane crystals. So kind of take these with a grain of salt. These are just kind of general, rough ballpark averages to kind of consider and shoot for. So for the 3-star feature, 245,000. The 4-star basic around 1 million, 4-star basic 1 million. Then we look at the intermediate bracket, 3-star feature to try to go to 650,000, the 4-star basic 1.2 million, and the 4-star feature 1.4 million. Again, these are just rough numbers, so I'd love to hear from folks who go after these crystals in the intermediate and beginners bracket what your results are. Would love if you could throw those in the comment section. That would be great. And in general, would just love to hear folks' thoughts on round one cutoffs this time around. I mean, especially since we're dealing with kind of an anomaly with the recollected crystal. Do you think it's going to perform very similar to the memory lane crystal from last year? Or do you think it's going to perform differently? Maybe it'll have a cutoff similar to like newer chance. Would love to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions, throw them on down into the comment section as well as your thoughts. And if you like this video, would really appreciate you clicking that thumbs up button. And if you like this and other videos we have on the channel, would really appreciate a subscribe. Other than that, thanks a lot for stopping by and have a great day.